Anyway, I end up reversing him in overtime, and I catch him on his back. I put my back down. I had a goatee. And I was bald. And I remember my goatee right in his eyeball because I was so pissed about going down. I'm like, I didn't want him to fight and get off his back and somehow win the match.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're staying down. And the ref finally blew the whistle, and I won that match. But it was a dogfight.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is the Full Tilt Podcast with Hatch.
My friend and legend, Dennis, the main man Hall.
no, thank you for coming. Appreciate
Man,
it.
how we doing, man?
Doing great. Just, finished up the college women's season, and now we're heading into the Greco and freestyle season for all the competitors out there, and hopefully going to get some guys ready to go out there and represent well out in Vegas.
Yeah, love it, man. It's been. Like I said, I get excited about all my interviews, and but people are probably getting tired of hearing this. But man, you and I got some history, man. We've known each other for a couple decades now, and it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Just when I see it, wrestling stuff and stuff like that.
Same here. I remember, when we came down to Nashville, and we needed a place to train, and you offered to help us out, and that was very helpful. And you're always there if we need help.
Yeah,
so.
I think I found you some hotel rooms too, didn't I?
Exactly.
That's right, man. You guys got to make that trip back down.
I know.
Shoot, come on,
it's good for I'm thinking about doing something like that for our women's team next year.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get into that stuff a little bit too, as far as like where you're at and your career right now and coaching career and stuff like that. It's gonna be awesome. But again, one of the legends. I mean, one of the arguably the most decorated Greco. Arguably one of the most decorated Greco wrestlers we've ever had. 94 world bronze, 95 world champ, obviously, 96 Olympic silver, 2-time Olympian, 10-time U.S. Open champ. I mean, it's going to be hard to find somebody out there. Come on, my man.
There's guys out there that are damn good.
Yeah.
That are animals and deserve recognition. And, the hard part right now is we're struggling with Greco. And you know what? We got to figure it out before they completely try to drop it on us.
Yeah. Then that would be a tragedy, too. It's such a... I mean, Greco, when I started this podcast, I knew I had to get some Greco guys on, and I've got some other ones that are obviously planned, and committed to get on here. But it's definitely a style that we need to continue to highlight and just continue to bring to the forefront, because unless you've done it, nobody knows how tough that sport is. It is tough.
They don't know how deep it is worldwide.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle. The other countries, those kids start at such a young age. They don't have to deal with folk style. And, that's why we're way behind and we struggle so bad. There's ways to fix it. And, I just wish USA Wrestling would get off their ass and do something about it. Sorry for swearing.
No. Listen, we're open podcast here, man. You can say whatever you want. We had to make that's par for the course, man. I was like, listen, I got Dennis Hall on here, man.
You should expect a couple F-bombs.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and preface this now, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't like certain cuss words, you know what? Hey, you know what? You shouldn't be listening anyway, because they seriously gonna come out of my mouth. I always got to give them a trigger at the beginning. Say, listen, here's the deal. If you listen to podcasts on like 1.25 or 1.5, don't do this with mine, because I talk way too fast. I got a Filipino mother. So listen, I get really excited about talking to my friends. I got a Filipino mother. I talk fast already. So listen, man, you speed it up. It's going to think I'm just in Chinese or German. So we're going to slow it down. But man, I couldn't be more excited to talk to you, my friend. And just talk a little bit of Greco and talk a little bit of everything else. But you mentioned already about how popular Greco-Roman wrestling is on the world stage in certain countries. A couple questions. One, explain that as far as like how it's really perceived in different countries, and which countries are really, really, really deep into Greco.
Okay. Like over in Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and them. They don't even really have a freestyle team. All their guys go into Greco. You know, and a lot of the other countries, you know, they start out in Greco, and if they ain't good, they transition over to freestyle. And, you know, you look at countries like France, they're typically not too good in freestyle, but their Greco program as well. Poland is another country. Their freestyle isn't good, but their Greco, they really take strong to Greco. Cuba right now used to be good internationally in freestyle, but they're down quite a bit in freestyle. But you look at their Greco athletes, they keep producing animals. So, you know, I think we just struggle here in the U.S. because, you know, we're so folk style oriented. The NCAAs is guys are getting paid $1 million to wrestle in college, and you know you have coaches out there that just don't understand it or don't get it and don't care.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's because it's such a different it's a different sport, 100%. I mean, that's the one thing that I really kind of, because obviously we could coach a little. I mean, I wish I was better at it and could coach it a little bit better in our club, but they really got to take a look at it as. It is a different sport. I mean, it's hard. It's I mean, where you can't use your legs, you can't grab legs, stuff like that. It's much different. But just picking apart a couple of the benefits that you would have on the folk style side or the freestyle side with the hand fighting, defending gut wrenches, you know, just defending front headlocks, just some of the toughest aspects of our sport, all wrapped into one. There's a lot of benefits to it.
Learning how to break position, the pressure part of the sport is incredible on Greco, and you know, you push too much or you are defending too hard. Guys in a Greco-Roman arena, they understand when you make that minute mistake, and you know it's going to cost you. And matches are close. It's not, a lot of the matches are 2-1, 4-1, whatever. But you know, the room for error in Greco is a lot slimmer than the room for error in folk style or freestyle.
Yeah, it was funny because we were in a USA. I've been our state chairman in Tennessee for the last probably 15 years or so, and we were at the Southeast Regionals last year. And we were in our state chairman's meeting, and we were talking about Greco versus freestyle and officiating and all that type of stuff. And Stacey Davis, who's amazing, I love Stacey, he's the man. Yeah. And one of the state chairs from another state that mentioned something about Greco. He's a big Greco guy, you know, and I just don't understand it enough to really. And he talked about having it, you know, it's flip flop in the freestyle Greco. And I was like, what? I was like, how is it tougher to officiate? And you know, without even confirming, probably should have checked with Stacey before I said something. and I said, how can it be tougher to officiate Greco? It's only half the body. And of course, the state chairman, he's like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, how is it?
Because I got to see if there's any leg infractions."
I was like, right, Stacey? And he's like, "Well, Hatch, actually, it's a lot tough." I was like, okay, I guess I stand corrected. I don't know, but that's the thing. I mean, people just. I mean, I think that the more and more we can get Greco out there, the more and more that, you know, people understand the sport and what the benefits are towards the other. Because freestyle and folk style aren't going anywhere. Yeah, it is what it is.
No, for sure.
Know? And but at the end of the day, just understand the benefits of it. I think it would be great, and it would be, it just makes for better wrestlers.
Better wrestlers overall. Being able to attack the whole body.
Yeah. 100%. And so that kind of leads me into really our first point of discussion. Because it wasn't like you were a subpar high school wrestler. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't like you maybe state qualifier or whatever and decide, you know what, folk style, I don't want to go down that route. You actually started as a folk styler. Yep. I mean, you had a very successful high school career.
Yeah.
And went to the University of Wisconsin. Yep. But then decided, I'm going Greco. What happened there?
Well, that's a whole story.
Well, that's what we're here for, big dog.
You know, I made...
you can pull that a little bit closer.
I wrestled my freshman year for the University of Wisconsin. I redshirted that year. I had a hard time in a math class first semester. It was a math class. My old coach failed when he was a freshman, and he put me in it. So I had to tell him, "Hey, I'm not listening to you anymore." So anyway, I passed. I was eligible second semester, but they had all their trips lined up, and I wasn't on a travel list because he wasn't sure if I was going to pass that class.
Yeah.
And I sweet talked the teacher into passing me and got a passing grade. And anyway, I ended up redshirting, but I trained with Paul Walker, who was on the team with the Badgers. He was really helpful in my Greco-Roman.
Now, was he Paul Walker that ended up in Florida?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah.
So same guy. We train after our college practice, and we do a lot of Greco afterwards. And he was really helpful to help me get ready for my first U.S. Open. Went out to Vegas in April, and I ended up third, and that put me in a world team trials. So kept training with Paul and all the guys, other guys I could find that would wrestle me Greco-wise, and went to my first world team trials down in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and ended up winning that. I had to wrestle Anthony Amato right away because he came up through the mini tournament, and I wrestled him 2 out of 3, beat him, and then I wrestled Kurt Hull 2 out of 3, beat him, and then I had to wrestle Mark Pastelnik, Bam Bam.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
And wrestled Bam in the finals, and I beat him, and made my first world team, and then went back to the university.
So
and
that
did
was
camps.
it. So that would have been
1990.
1990? Okay.
Yep.
So you would have been 19 years old? 19,
Yeah,
18?
19,
20?
I believe.
Yeah. Wow.
I was young.
Yeah.
Then, Andy and I said I want to take the first semester off, so I asked Andy, can we get a semester off so I can go wrestle at the Worlds, the World Cup? And we petitioned NCAA, and the NCAA said no.
Really?
Yeah. They said if it's a U23, I could have had the semester off. I'm thinking, are you guys idiots? What do you do for a living?
What? Seriously? If it
Dead serious.
If it had been
was
U23, you understand at senior level?
Yeah, they don't get it. And that's why I thought about it really hard on what I should do. I was on a full ride scholarship. I was actually making $750 a year or a semester going to college, which was unheard of back in those days.
Yeah.
And I just talked to probably 5 people, 5 close friends and family, and all of them said the same thing. They go, "What does your heart tell you to do?" And I hated school. I didn't like school.
Yeah.
School sucked. Just being honest. I was there to wrestle and become the best in the world. And at that point, I remember the day walking in Andy and telling him I was signed up for school that first semester. I was going to classes, and I walked in, and it was a morning workout, and we were in the restroom, and I told him, I said, "Hey, Andy, I'm not going to pass my classes. I'm going to be ineligible second semester probably because I'm going to 6 weeks overseas. Going to be gone at least 6, 7 weeks." And I said, I'm going to give you my scholarship back. It's fair to the team. And he's like trying to talk me into staying, and, got a little heated, but I understand his position, and I understand my position. And after that, I wasn't welcome back in the wrestling room anymore at Wisconsin. I had to find a new place to train, and, and maybe it was because of the rules.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was my time at Wisconsin, a year and about a month.
Wow.
Always liked Wisconsin. It was a great place. They helped me as much as they could, and it just got to a different point where I had to make a decision. What's important to me? And I chose the Greco route, and that 1 month, 2 months into that, my mindset. I could tell that story if you want me to.
100%.
So I go to the World Championships. It's in Rome, and I wrestle Patrice Mourier. He's from France. He was a world champion in '87, and this is 1990, and I lose to him by a point. Then my next match, I wrestle some guy from South America, and I lose by a point. So I'm 0-2, and I'm out of the World Championships, and I'm watching, man. Russia had a hell of a tournament. They had 10 medalists.
Wow.
They had 7 gold, I think 2 silver, and 1 bronze, I think. But it was crazy. And just the experience of seeing those guys, I'm like, I got to do it. I got to figure it out. Then I go to the World Cup, and it's in Sweden, in Gothenburg, Sweden. And it's about a month and a half after the Worlds. And I'm 0-3 at the World Cup. So now I lost 5 matches in a row. And I'm just I'm up in my hotel room crying like a little baby. And I'm frustrated. And I'm thinking, is there any way I can go back and try and get my scholarship back? And I'm just frustrated. I don't know why I'm losing.
Yeah.
And at that point, Dan Chandler knocks on my hotel room door. And, I'm wiping away the tears from my eyes because I'm frustrated and defeated at this point. And he goes, Dennis, I know what's wrong. I look at him, I go, I'm sure glad you know what's wrong because I haven't got a damn clue. He goes, right now, you're going out and you're wrestling not to lose to these guys. He goes, when you go out in the United States, you go out there to kill people. He goes, you go out there to mess them up and your physical is all get out. He goes, tomorrow, you go out and you wrestle physical. You'll win your next 2 matches. And that's all he said. And he walked out and went to bed. And I thought about it for about an hour. And I said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to give them hell. I ain't going to worry about who they are. And the next day I went out. I won my first 2 international matches at the senior level. And I beat the guy that was undefeated from Sweden.
Wow.
I beat him in my last match, like 13-11, and I got a cool picture in their newspaper, the town newspaper, and I don't know what the hell it says, but I'd like somebody to translate it. But that was the beginning of my career.
Yeah.
And started off rocky, but with good people in the corner. That a guy that spent 5 minutes to talk to me, he changed throughout of my career.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, with that advice right there, as far as going out, because that's the one thing. If you ask people what Dennis Hall wrestling is all about, it is physical.
Yeah.
And you better be ready for a dang street fight. And that's just, I mean, it was, and we'll get into this whole part about it, when I later on, with you and training with Terry. But I remember the first time I met you, and it was through Terry, obviously, Terry Brands, for those of you. And I was like, Jesus, these two are freaking identical. I'm like, what is this? This is like scary. It's like, because we'd see the posters of the 2 lined up, 2 world champs, 95, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and then I met you, and I was like, wow, that is wild. Yeah. So, I mean, so you took it from there on out. And then was that just that was a switch? The mindset forward was like, listen, I'm coming out and I'm the destroyer.
That's for the most part. I mean, there were times where I doubted myself and, where I struggled mentally. And, BZ Hendricks was a sports psychologist back in the day. Okay. He worked with USA Wrestling and certain athletes. And, I knew that I needed to fix my mindset. So I we started working together, and he actually helped me out a ton and gave me a lot of great things to work on during practice, outside of practice. The guy was a genius. I'd ask him a question, or I'd ask him what's going inside my own head, and he'd come back with 10 questions, and his questions made me answer myself. So he got me to look inward and see what the internal struggles were, and that was a huge difference for me, working with him. But I always tried to believe in myself, but there were times where somebody had to kick me in the ass to get me to believe in myself.
Yeah. What was it? Do you remember like maybe one particular time when Beasley really got you to switch, looking at something internal?
The one time is in '96. I was having a hard time sleeping at night, and I was struggling I'd go to bed at 10 o'clock because I was getting up early at 7 o'clock every day and hit my workouts for the day. And I was struggling with, the self-doubt and worrying about the results.
Right.
And the one thing he said to me, he goes, Dennis, he goes, what's keeping you up at night is, the doubt you have. You got to replace that doubt. Then we started to work on visualization more. We started to work on other things. He goes, when you go, before you sit down in bed, he goes, ask yourself one question. Did I do everything I could do today to become Olympic champion? And if the answer is yes, lay down and sleep like a baby. If the answer is no, get your ass out of bed and get to the gym.
Oh, geez.
And that really helped. After that, I was able to sleep sound and be ready for the next day workouts. I mean, I'd lay in bed from 10 o'clock till 1:30 in the morning thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. And, a lot of times during matches, other instances where he made a significant impact on me is he got me to learn how to anchor. And when I'd use that anchor whenever something went wrong in a match. And when I didn't, you could tell I didn't anchor and get back to center and get back to, okay, what's the next step in the match? I got to score the next point.
Yeah. Wow. I think, wow. So that probably helped you. I mean, working with that, like, because you won your first world medal in 93.
94.
Or 94, I'm sorry, 94. Yep. What was that like, I guess, your quote unquote breakout period, or was it even a little bit earlier than there, where you're like, you know what, I can not only go, but I can beat the best guys in the world? When did that first click?
I was wrestling tough internationally. I beat some decent guys, but in the 1993 Worlds, that's where it all changed. And this is where your coaches can make you or break you by how they talk to you. And at the World Championships in 93, if you lost in the quarterfinals, you were out of the tournament. So right before the tournament began, they come up to me, and I know I could beat my first guy. And in the quarters, I would have had Luis Sarmiento from Cuba. And he's tough. He was tough. Me and him, I was just talking to him on my phone earlier today. So that was pretty cool.
You told him his name's probably going to come up on a podcast today.
Exactly, I did. He was asking me, hey, do you have any video from our match or any videos of me? I said, I'll talk to USA Wrestling and see what I can get him the. But I remember them coming up to me before the tournament began and they said, hey, you're going to have the Cuban in the quarters if you win. They go, do you think you can beat him? That is a wrong thing to ask your athlete. And I don't blame the coaches, but at that point, I'm stubborn. I ain't going to say, no, I can't beat him. I said, yeah, I think I can beat him. But then it changed my thought process about going out there, keeping the match close and beating them in when I'm good, which is later in the match. And that was my game plan when I wrestled them. Yeah. And I ended up losing by 1 point. I actually confirmed it with him today on the phone. And after the match, I come off the mat, and I'm pissed. I'm like, that's never going to happen again. That's when my mind changed. I want to go expend it all. I want to give it my all, and I don't give a shit about the score. Yeah. I gotta wrestle hard for the entire 6 minutes instead of trying to be safe. And that's from that moment on, I changed from not worrying about score to just attacking.
Wow.
And, I think a lot of times there's going to be a match in your career that changes you. That was my match.
Wow.
And
so it wasn't even a win. It was a loss.
No,
it was like, listen, it ain't happening again.
Yeah.
Wow. So then it obviously worked. So 94, then you bronze.
In 94, I bronzed.
Yep. So take us through that first world tournament that you medaled at.
I got to go back to, I think, September the year before. My father-in-law and I'll just call him father-in-law. A good guy. It's an ex-father-in-law, but we still talk.
That's what it is, yeah.
You know,
You ain't the only one.
Exactly. So we were going up to northern Wisconsin to look at some property on like a lake, and we're on the way up there, and he goes, Dennis, he goes, how do you support my daughter? I go, you know, I have USA Wrestling and any camps or anything I can do. He goes, how much are you working out? He goes, is there anything you can do to make more money from USA Wrestling? I said, I can win a medal. If I win a medal, then I get an extra 5-10 grand or whatever. And he goes, what can you do in your training to put yourself in a spot to make more money? He goes, I work probably 60 hours a week supporting my family and my kids. And that put it in a perspective. Because up to that point, I was working out twice a day. I mean, maybe 3 times. But after that conversation, I was doing 3 to 4 workouts per day all year long. I mean, I take a little break here and there after a tournament, but that was a turning point. That him asking me that question and having me look internally to see what I thought I could do, because the reality is our thoughts create our realities. And if you don't think you can do it, you ain't gonna do it. You know, if you think you can do it, there's a damn good chance you can if you're gonna do the work.
Right.
So that was a huge turning point. Anyway, I had a good year in '94 and got to World Championships. I don't remember which guy I lost to, but I think it was Ignatenko from Russia. I think I lost to him. And then on the backside, I had a guy from China who was tough. I had a guy from Iraglu from Turkey, you know, and then I had the defending world bronze medalist in the 3rd and 4th place match. And, you know, I remember going into that match thinking, I'm going down first, and I expected to go down.
Really?
Which is different from 96, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember splitting my lip right here, and I told the doc, Doc Feldman, great doc, he's a great man, but I remember telling him when I split it, I said, get it sealed up quick. This guy's tired. I'm about to break him, and I can't have it take 2 minutes to break him because he's going to get his gas back. And that was it. I believe it was against a guy from China, and that guy ended up being a 3-time Olympic bronze medalist.
Wow.
So it was
no
just
joke.
brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal. I mean, I had him and Iraglu and then a world bronze medalist to get bronze.
Yeah.
You know, plus the guys that I beat on the front side.
Yeah.
So, but that tournament, when I won that, or when I won my bronze medal, I just remember that's a picture up there from the bronze medal match, because that was something special. It was awesome. But when I went out into my bronze medal match, I remember thinking they're going to try to screw me because they want that guy to win a medal in his own country. And I just didn't give him a chance. You know, everything. I was expected to go down and parterre. I had my defense ready. I had everything ready, and I just pretty much shut him down that match and won it, you know, without letting the ref being able to decide it.
Yeah.
So that was my first medal.
That's just a great, like, you know, because obviously, I mean, this podcast, I love the stories that come out of it from the people that I interview and stuff, but there's also a lot of wrestling lessons in here. And that's one of the things that I always, you get it as a coach all the time, you know, oh, referee this, referee that. I'm like, listen, you just take it out of their hands and you ain't got nothing to complain about. That's all you got to do.
And that is the hardest thing to do.
Yes.
Because it's so emotionally draining. And, you know, there's times where I didn't take control. I let them get the better of me and break me. And it pisses me off to this day that I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was what we said when Gable, when he used to tell us all, just make sure you're up by 6 points. You ain't gonna worry about it.
It's hard to get those 6 points.
They take you down and put you on your back for 3, and then there you go. You still win by 1. Exactly. That's the way it was. So, but that when you won that first world medal there in '94, I mean, that now did another switch flip as far as like, okay, now I know I'm on this level.
I think the overall belief system that helped. And then in '95, I won the bronze. Why the hell can't I win the gold?
Yeah.
And that was my mindset. And, '95, kept training hard, had Ivan Ivanov over. He was a bronze medalist from silver medalist from '94, but we had trained together in '93. So I stepped up my training. I brought in him for 6 months.
Wow.
The first day, I got to tell this story because it's pretty funny.
Please do.
First day, I go pick him up at the Milwaukee airport, which is 3 hours away from Stevens Point. So I pick him up at like 11:30 at night. We don't even know each other really. I mean, I met him once over in Bulgaria. We talked a little bit, but then so I pick him up. We get his bags and we are heading back. It's pretty quiet, trying to talk, but it's hard because he doesn't understand much English. And we get home about 2 a.m, and I go, I'm freaking tired, man. And I go to bed, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, he comes pounding on my door. He goes, "We must go train like dogs." I'm like, "Hey, 10 minutes," and my wife was in bed next to me, and he comes back in 10 minutes later. 10 minutes. He gave me 10 minutes at least. Pounds on the door again. "We must train like dogs." And she's like, "If you don't get out of bed, I'm going to kill you." So I got up, put my gym shorts on, and I went and trained like dogs.
Yeah.
But that was the accountability factor of having guys from overseas over here. They didn't care what time of day it was. They didn't care how much sleep they got, but they knew they needed to be on the mat training.
Yeah.
And, having a guy like Ivan in my room and being able to train with me, it was a whole different level. I remember the first month getting my ass kicked every single day.
Really?
I did not score a point on him for a month.
Really?
Yeah, really. That sucked.
Yeah. How'd you deal with that, Des?
Just keep trying, man. Keep trying. It's going to come sooner or later, So and then after, by about the time he was leaving, it was pretty much 50-50.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can go with him, I can go with anybody in the world. And it's the little things that you learn from those guys, the little subtle techniques that if you don't train with them, you're never going to figure out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you were, that was kind of part of your training regimen from there on out, is bringing foreign guys in to train with you. Huh?
I loved having the foreign guys over because they just, number one, they trained hard. It wasn't, they didn't care how their body felt. They were going to get up and get after you and help you get better.
Yeah. You were telling me a story about they got some interesting lifestyle habits as far as like their clothes and stuff.
Okay. I'm going to say, I'll tell you this story. Okay. Ivan was over. We were living. It was the first time he was ever over. Because I brought him over, I think, 2 or 3 other times. Yeah. But first time, it's the first week. He's training with us. He's got stinky clothes and stuff, like we all do, man. But we had a washer and dryer right outside. I had coins to pay for it. But he didn't know. He just does his washed his clothes by hand in the bathtub. And I come home from practice, and my ex-wife at the time, she goes, "Go look in the bathroom." She goes, "He used all my shampoo." Well, he washed his clothes in the tub, and he had them hanging all over the bathroom. And then after that, I said, "Hey, we got a washer right out here." But they do what they got to do.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, okay, my clothes stink. I got to clean them.
Yeah.
So I can't blame him.
Yeah, that's true.
He just didn't know. So it was interesting. There's a lot of little fun things that you learn.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing about learning different cultures and stuff like that. And I mean, not everybody has as easy as the United States, so you just got to figure it out. But so that really helps you right there in '95. I mean, now going into the '95 Worlds, I mean, you were probably pretty confident. Like, listen, man, I'm going to get these dudes.
Yeah, I really believed I could win the Worlds. Melnichenko, who I ended up wrestling in the finals, I wrestled him back in '91 at the Espoir World Championships. He beat me, I think it was 12-0 at the time, in about a minute 30 seconds. But he had a great lift, and I had Ivan's brother Stefan come over to the Stevens Point to train with me because he was long and he had the same type of lift.
Now, Melnichenko was from
Kazakhstan. Yep. Okay. And I remember just one story quick about...
no, I don't want to quick, man. Just keep on coming, brother.
It's me and Stefan in the restroom in UW Stevens Point, and I'm working on lift defense, and I got thrown probably 30, 40 times that day because I was on bottom because I was trying to figure it out. And after about the 41st time, I grabbed whatever was close to me. It was a chair, and I threw that son of a bitch halfway across the restroom. I said, "We're done for today." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "No, it's not you. It's me. I'm stupid. I can't figure this stuff out." So I'm like, "Well, come back tomorrow. You can get on top and throw me again until I figure it out. But otherwise, I might kill you, you know?" And so he took the rest of the day off. It was a little bit shorter practice. But the next day, I came back in, and within 10 minutes, I figured it out.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it? I'm just curious.
It was a timing on a step up. I was waiting.
And
what
type of lift are we talking about?
Straight lift.
Straight lift.
Yep. Straight lift. And it was my timing on my motion. And boom, 10 minutes, I figured it out.
Really?
It was crazy.
Like the timing on the motion as far as like you like moving forward?
Like when he had me pinned down, the timing when he was releasing, I'd wait probably about an extra second to half a second to move forward. Oh, so I got the timing down. And it was all about that timing.
Really?
And, you know, I was thinking about it all night and, you know, kind of, it took me a little bit to figure it out, but within 10 minutes, he struggled lifting me.
Really?
Yeah, and that I brought him over to help me defend Melnichenko's lift.
Yeah.
And going back to the '95 Worlds, it was crazy. My first match, was
because you went through a gauntlet.
Yeah,
'95.
I mean, it was a tough, probably the toughest draw ever by an athlete.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I had 4 former world champions that I had to beat. Ignatenko was a couple-time world champ from Russia. He was a silver medalist. Yes, first round.
Wow.
The crazy part is I told Brandon Paulson, I said, I hope I get Ignatenko first round.
Really?
I told him, yeah, before the tournament even began. And then Paulson comes in my room the night after weigh-ins. He goes, "Dennis, do you know who you have?" I said, "No, I don't give a shit. I'm going to beat them all anyway." He goes, "You got Ignatenko." So I got my mind ready for that battle because I knew it was going to be a battle. The guy was, I mean, he won silver the 2 years prior, you know, so he was an animal. But I ended up beating him in overtime. Got him tired. He got on top in overtime, tried to turn me. I stepped over and caught him on his back. I can't remember. I don't think they called a pin, but I ended up winning that match. Second round was a guy from Sweden. He was tough. He was originally from Greece, moved to Sweden. Still lives in Sweden. I talked to him a little bit here and there via messenger. But I beat him 4-3. And then semifinals match at the Worlds, or quarters. I had the German Rafat Yildiz this guy was a stud. He was a 2-time world champ. He was Olympic silver medalist from 92.
Wow.
And we're wrestling, and I make a mistake. I'm down in parterre, and he puts his head towards my armpit, so I pinch it. Well, he wanted me to pinch his head. He gutted me, and he's up 3-1.
So he put his head in your armpit.
Yeah,
So he pinched down.
Exactly. So I pinched, and he trapped it. When I pinched, he caught me. He went right away.
I might steal that one. I'm not gonna play around with it.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna play around. I'm a wrestler play around with it. I'm not playing around with it.
For sure. Yeah. But anyway, score's 3-1. There's about 20 seconds left. I had him in a front headlock at the edge of the mat, and I'm on the feet standing, and I'm trying to choke him and throw him, and he steps out of bounds. And right after they blew the whistle out of bounds, he acts like he's hurt. He wasn't hurt. He might have been hard to breathe for a few seconds, but he would have been good if he would have came back, and that was his worst mistake. Because I look over to my corner, the coaches in the corner have their heads down like it's over. I look over to a couple other coaches that were watching the match, but they're watching other matches now. I look up into the stands and seeing if anybody sees anything.
Yeah.
And everybody looks like it's over. I'm like, hell no. I quick come up with a game plan. I don't know what the hell I would have done if it didn't work out, but I would have fought until the last second. I acted like I wasn't even in a stance that I was going to concede. And as soon as the whistle blew, I hit a high dive, trapped him, and took him straight to his back and got a touch fall with about 12 seconds left.
Dang.
Yeah.
All from looking in the corner and looking up and seeing
exactly.
if anybody nobody thought it was over.
Yeah. I'm like, I didn't hear the fat lady say.
Yeah, right. what did Rocky say? I didn't hear no whistle. I didn't hear no bell.
Exactly. The crazy part is right after that match, I went back to my corner and I told my coaches, I said, hey guys, I said, you know what? You got to always believe in your athletes. So hopefully they learned something that match.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to be a dick or anything, but you know what? Believe in your athletes. Give them something, man. Be into the match. If you're coaching and you quit on a kid, they see it. You know?
Right.
So then in my semifinal match, I had Agassi Manoukian, who was an animal. He was a world champ. From Armenia. He was Armenia's first world champion after they split from the Soviets.
Really?
So he was their first world champion. And at that world championships, he had 5 techs.
Wow.
Yeah, he broke everybody's ribs.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. He had a nasty reverse lift. And I remember feeling that firsthand at the Concord Cup. We were doing a friendly duel, world duel.
Yeah.
And I had him, and
Wasn't so friendly, huh?
no, it wasn't friendly at all. I almost missed the world team trials because he all about broke my rib until I jumped my butt up in the air, and he put me on his shoulder and slammed me for 5. And then he got me up for a second one, for a second ride, and somehow, I don't know how I defended it. I just arched pretty well. And he only got, I think, one for the lift and then one for the finish, or he came out on top. But I ended up losing that match 7-5. So I knew he'd get tired. So my whole thing was going into that match, I'm going to be physical as heck out of the gate. I'm going to get him tired so he can't get his lift. Plus, the other thing is, for about the month leading up to the Worlds, Paulson had a decent reverse lift, so he was always trying to get his reverse lift. I made him try. Me and him both figured out that if I shut off the opposite side of the side that he got on, so say the guy's on my left side, if I close off my right side, they can't get their lock. So, well, I got put down first again, like I always did, you know. He gets on top, and he goes.
So let's back up. So getting put down first for the people that aren't real don't have a ton of Greco knowledge or even of the rules
Yeah.
back then. What did getting put down first? What does that mean?
Okay, that means they considered me passive.
Okay.
So he got the first passivity, and then he gets his choice. He can stay on his feet, or he can put me down.
Right.
And so he put me in parterre.
Which most of the time
Most guys do.
in Greco they're going to put you down so
Exactly,
they can get
for
working
sure.
lifts, guts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So he puts me down. I defend it. He didn't even get his lock.
Wow.
And then we get back up to the feet. And I just start going crazy on him. And score ends up being 8-0. I beat him 8-0. I had him in a position where I was trying to go for the tech. And I couldn't quite get it before time ran out. But the funny story is Agassi, I brought him over in 1999 to train with. And he goes, Dennis, he goes, I don't know what you did, but you were a different wrestler from when I wrestled you the first time. He goes, after the parterre, he goes, for the second half of the match, he goes, I was seeing two of you. I didn't know which one to try and grab. I said, that's good. That's what I was hoping for.
That was a strategy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that was the semis, and then all of a sudden the gold medal match
Then
comes.
the gold medal
Yeah.
match. And the crazy part is, right before the gold medal match, I talked with Paulson on gut wrenches. I wanted to work on going hand to hand. For some reason, I don't know if I ever did that before, but I said, hey, I want you to gut wrench me. I'm going to work on going hand to hand.
Because back then it was 1 point for
1
hand to hand.
point, yep. And that turned out to be the best thing I ever did because in the match, it was a good match. I scored a 2-point trapped arm gut wrench on him. He scored 2 1-point. He couldn't lift me. He scored 2 1-point guts on me. And the thing is, back then I was stupid. I didn't know the rules, or I wasn't even thinking about them. So it's 2-2 at the end of regulation, and they pick a winner, or they have a winner. And I didn't know I had won. I'm waiting just to see what the ref's going to say. And I end up winning the match, but it was a criteria. I scored a 2 and he scored 2 1s. And you could see I jumped probably 2.5, 3 feet in there. And it was a moment that, culminated for 21 years.
Of course.
And
just the sacrifice of giving up a college scholarship to go down a route that's
Hard.
you're not going to get. The college scholarship's gone.
Yeah.
And so it's like any type of future education, you have to pay for that on your own. And now all of a sudden it's financially it's affected. Everything's affected. You're going down a whole different style of wrestling, and now all of a sudden it culminated to you're the best guy in the world.
And that was, one of the things. And my brother passed away in '87, and I remember feeling him at that tournament. Like he was there watching. And some people might think I'm crazy, but I just felt like he was there with me. When I was on the award stand.
Because we, like I said, I first met you at camps. When you'd come in and train with Terry, and you would tell the campers the story about your brother Dan.
Yeah.
And so now that you brought that up, and how big of an impact that was on your '95 World Championship, get into that a little bit if you can.
Yeah. Well, my brother died in 1988. He was at a college party, lived a couple miles off of campus, and he was driving home and ended up going off the road and hitting a tree. His truck was stuck about 3 feet off the ground, and he was one driving. Steering wheel was all mangled, and he died. He pretty much immediately upon impact, and he was a huge influence. He's a guy that got me started in wrestling, and I looked up to him, man. He was a guy that I wanted to be. Great person, would help you out anytime you needed help, and going back after he died, I quit wrestling. I struggled, man. Struggled hard. And I stopped wrestling. I didn't even wrestle hardly at all at that point because I'm like thinking to myself, man, he's gone. You know, life's short. Why am I doing this sport that sucks? I mean, it's hard. You know, I ain't guaranteed tomorrow. And then all of a sudden, I started to get the itch to come back in like end of middle May, and I ended up wrestling at the Junior World Trials down in Pensacola, Florida. It was my first Olympic trials I ever saw. And I won that, and it was kind of for him. And, you know, every big tournament I went to, I'd go to his gravesite, and we'd have a talk, and I'd just, you know, thank him for being who he was to me. And, you know, like before every World Championships, I'd always go back to the cemetery he was buried at and have that talk.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. That's incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
That's very, very moving. I mean, honestly, to have that type of motivation, you know, it ain't no wonder why you went to your events.
It gave me a little bit extra.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Wow. Well, I tell you what, like I said, at the end of at the 95, then at winning that Worlds, I couldn't imagine, like from an emotional perspective, really kind of
what. It was like, we did it. We did it. I told you I was going to do it, and I did it for you to, you know, honor you and what you taught me.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you're going into 95, or you're going 95, now we're going to 96. Obviously, you know, Olympic year.
Yeah.
Defending world champ.
You know, not much really changed.
Yeah.
I ended up bringing up Mario Oliveras from Cuba. He came in January, and he stayed all the way through May, through the Olympic trials. And, you know, just the things that he knew. He was a former world champion for Cuba. He was a great coach. He's still coaching. He's actually going to be up in Iowa City or Coralville for the Pan Ams.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to go down and meet him next month, and we'll hang out with him a little bit. But brought him up, and the training was great, so I knew I was ready. I mean, you wrestle a guy like that every day, you got an advantage, you know. So I trained with him and Kevin Bracken, who was also on the 2000 Olympic team.
He was an animal.
Yeah. So I trained with both those guys for 5 months. They were a weight class up from me, so I was a small guy in the room. But, you know, the training paid off. When I got to the Olympics, I knew I was ready. And...
we'll back up just a little bit here, just because, I mean, your mindset went straight to the Olympics.
Oh,
I mean,
there
was like, there's no way I'm not getting out of this country. Nobody.
Exactly.
I mean, this is.
No, it was my weight class.
Yeah, there ain't nobody else here.
It was my weight class.
Yeah, I love that.
At that point, I truly believed it, and you know, the funny part is that. Going into that, once I made the Olympic team, you know, and the trials was decent. It wasn't. Yeah. It was what it was.
Yeah, it was what it was.
You know? But after the trials, I remember being at the Olympic training camp, and that's when Terry and I started to become good friends.
Really?
I mean, he comes in our Greco practice. We're working on stuff, and he yells, "Hall!" Like, okay, that's Terry, you know. And he goes, "Hey, can you help me with the gut wrench? Can you help me with defense?" I said, "Yeah, anytime, man. No problem." You know, and then from that moment on, we just started to be good friends. I mean, we knew each other from 95 as we went down, got the poster with Garth Brooks, and I was his roommate, and I was kind of scared of him, you know, a little bit. Because I got in at 11:30 at night, and he was like, "Hey, come on, I got to get up in the morning." And then he's getting up, and he goes for his run. He comes back, he grabs his band. This was in 95, you know, and like, maybe it might have been early 96. I don't remember, but he grabs his the Lifeline
gym.
band.
The rubber gym.
And he's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, can I do that with you?" He's like, "Yeah." Now wasn't friendly, but he wasn't, Terry.
Of course.
So, and then we started, I'm like, I like how the guy's an animal, man.
Yeah.
And, but my previous experience with Terry, I got to go back to this.
The college, wasn't it?
College, yeah. Northern Open. Anyway, Northern Open, we're wrestling. I don't remember what round. I'm a true freshman. He's a redshirt sophomore, and I'm beating him going in the third period, and Elger was in his corner up to that point, and then Gable somehow ended up in his corner because he saw him in a dogfight. And damn it, Gable, you should have stayed away. But after the match, I remember he ended up beating me 7-5. If the rules were the way they are now, I probably would have pinned him, though, because that lat dropped him, and my feet were still in bounds. But anyway, I remember him pushing off my head and sprinting back to the center. And I get up, and honestly, I couldn't stand straight up because of his heavy hands. Yeah. And I kind of hunchback to the center of the mat. I shake his hands. He just kind of slaps my hand and runs off the mat, and he's swearing and pissed off. And I'm like, you're a dick, Who the hell do you think you are, I'm like, and, that was my first experience with Terry. And I'm thinking, I'm going to beat your ass someday. Well, that didn't happen, but we trained together, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was funny because I think you were telling me, too, that you were talking to your coach at the time after that match.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll tell you that part,
it was
too.
Hilarious.
I come back to the corner, and I'm all hunched over because I can't. My back's tight, man. Yeah. And I go, what the hell just happened? He goes, you got a good old-fashioned ass whooping. I looked at him. I said, well, you better start teaching it because I never want one of those again. And, he tried, but he didn't have that Iowa mentality. And that's, looking back, man, I chose Wisconsin. My high school coach called Coach Gable, and I really wanted to be a Hawkeye, man. And I don't know if my life would have changed or if I would have not wrestled Greco. But, if you could have two different journeys in life, I'd like to see what it would have looked like if I would have went to the Hawkeye room. Nothing against the Wisconsin room, but it was just, you guys were a different breed, man. Gable had something that the other coaches didn't have. And, I always sometimes wonder, if I had not worried about money or scholarship and came and walked on and got my ass beat every day, how good could I have got in a college room like that?
Well, I for one, Dennis, I'm glad you didn't come because when I got there, I had to wrestle Tom one day, Terry the next day, back and forth, and then if you thrown you in that mix along with Iron and all this, that would have been one more ass whooping I would have taken in the week, and I'm good, man. I had my share of ass whoopings back then, in the early 90s, so I think I'm glad because then because then maybe I would have been their freestyle partners, but then I would have had to be your Greco partner because there's nobody else to go to Greco, and I lived 20 minutes from there. That'd been great, it'd been awful,
exactly.
But I was wondering how you guys got so tight, and so it was in '96 then, ready for that because it was funny because Terry, he was very, very, very open about where he learned his gut wrench stuff. Yeah. He'd come in and do a camp for me. He'd come to whatever. He said, if you want to learn how to gut wrench, you go to the Greco guys. He goes, I learned everything I learned about a gut wrench. I learned from Dennis Hall. Yeah. He doesn't shade from crediting at all. Tell you.
I remember going to Terry again because he's had a huge impact on me. I remember the first time I was down in Iowa wrestling room with him, and we're battling, and he clubs me. Yeah, his snap. When he snapped me, I felt electricity from the tip of my spine all the way down to my butt crack. And after he did that to me the first time, I immediately kind of put my hands up like, okay, Let's go. You know? And then after the practice was over, I'm like, Terry, what the hell are you doing that you send electricity from the base of my skull to my butt crack? And then we worked on it for a half hour with each other.
Really?
And I started using it because
Yeah.
I liked the way it felt. not on me, but on other people. Because it makes you flinch.
Yeah.
It makes you tense up so hard that something opens up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. I was on the receiving end of that for a good 4 years. Yeah.
And that's why my neck hurt so
I
damn
know.
bad when I wrestled him and I didn't know.
That's why my neck still hurts to this day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell you what, it was a different feel when it comes to snaps with him and Tom. They're both very, very similar. It's just the hands.
It's insanity.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And, that's why I'm glad that me and him ended up being good friends and training together some, because I learned a lot from him, and I think he learned some from me as well.
100% did.
In 1998, I brought him over, I believe, to the World Championships. 2004, I brought him to the Olympics.
That's right.
He was with me, and, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Terry as a human being.
Yeah. No, he's the best. He's the
Yeah.
best. So going to 96, like I said, man, you got to go through another gauntlet again, the Olympic Games. It's always a gauntlet there back in those days.
Yeah. Crazy part is I got done. It was a tough weight cut like it always was back in the day. I had an old bike at the Red Roof Inn. That was where we stayed. My ex was 8.5 months pregnant at the time, so we just stayed at the Red Roof Inn. I didn't want to be in a village. It's too crazy, too chaotic, and people are partying and doing stupid stuff, and I didn't want any of that. So I stayed off and made weight. And I skipped opening ceremonies. That was the only opening ceremonies I didn't go to.
Really?
Yeah, I skipped opening ceremonies because I competed the next morning.
Mm-hmm. And you had a tough first round match.
Yeah. I knew who I had. It was Iraglu, who ended up winning a couple world titles
Turkey.
at the weight group.
Turkey, right?
Yep, Turkey. Yeah. I think he's in Parliament or something over there right now.
Isn't it crazy how
it's
the wrestlers in the foreign countries how
they're
much
looked up to.
Oh man, it's crazy how much
they're respected.
It's crazy.
And after my last weight cut, funny little story. I always brought a bike with me, an exercise bike that I buy for $10.
Yeah.
At St. Vinny's or Goodwill. After my last weight cut, I grabbed that extra bike and threw it off the balcony, and it didn't break. But I'm like, I'm done with it, man, because we only had to make weight one time. So I wanted that son of a bitch out of my room. I didn't want to have to think about it anymore.
Front desk of the hotel is probably like, what is this? What is this guy? Who is he doing?
Yeah.
Hope that didn't come out of our fitness room.
Exactly. Yeah. But, so that was funny. But I found out, about an hour before I went to bed, I had Iraglu, and I knew the game plan. I had matches where he had won, and plus I had beat him before, and I just knew I couldn't let him get to the reverse left, and it was a dogfight, man. I ended up winning 3-0, and I broke him mentally, and he just broke, but it was because of the pace. He had a hard cut. I had a hard cut, but you know what? I wanted to win that match worse than him. And just finally broke him, won 3-0. Not funny story, stupid story. Right before that match, I'm warming up with Bracken, and he does an arm drag on me, and I react. And my rib pops out from the back.
Before the first match?
Before the
Turkey?
first, yes. And we had a team chiropractor, Ben Lerner, but I couldn't get to him because it was like 2 minutes before I was called up to my mat.
Oh, gee.
So I went out. At that point, you ain't gonna feel much pain because the adrenaline, but it still sucked. I mean, I knew it was out.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrestled that match with the rib popped out in my back. It was on the backside that it popped out. And right after match, I go straight to the chiropractor. He's like, "Yep, it's out," and he pops it back in, and we just dealt with it. But next match against the Korean.
Before you get the next one, man, I've never heard that. I didn't know that.
No, that's
I didn't
true.
know that. Wow,
That's a true story.
People, because we're talking like any normal human being that listens to this podcast would be like, well, what? Wait a second. He popped a rib out? He still wrestled
in the back.
and beat a world champion?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's like literally, I mean, between ribs and sternum injuries, those are like by far in my opinion, probably the worst injuries you could possibly have.
Hip pointers suck too.
Yeah, I guess hip pointers, that would be bad too, yeah.
I got a story about that in 2004.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're at 96 right now. It's all right, though, man. We got plenty of time, man. Shoot.
So that puts me against the Korean in quarters again. And I had scouted them. They're just tough.
Yeah.
They are bangers. They're fighters. They probably get beat if they lose. I seen guys, the Koreans, get whipped in Colorado Springs before with little branches and stuff. I'm not kidding.
Really?
No, dead serious. They actually had to talk to the coaches from the Korean team because of that in Colorado Springs one time.
Really?
Yeah. That's what people don't get. This is no joke. I'm telling the truth.
Wow.
And so I know he's going to be coming for my lunch.
Yeah.
So we're battling. The referees put me down like 3 times in that match. I got like one time on top of him. Anyway, I end up reversing him in overtime, and I catch him on his back. I put my back down. I had a goatee. And I was bald. And I remember my goatee right in his eyeball because I was so pissed about going down. I'm like, I didn't want him to fight and get off his back and somehow win the match. Yeah. I'm like, no, you're staying down. And the ref finally blew the whistle, and I won that match. But it was a dogfight.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, they're coming for what you want. Mm-hmm. Are you going to let them have it or are you not? And I ended up beating him. He was tough. And in the semifinals match, I got the guy from China. And it was a hell of a match. It was a 1-0 match. I scored a 1-point takedown on him. And, the referee should have called a caution in 2, too, because when I was going for my gut, he hooked the shit out of my legs. And, but anyway, it was not another 9-minute match or 8-minute match because it was 5-3. Yeah. And so I beat him.
That's right. That's what, 1 5-minute period.
5-minute period. Right. I loved them.
That's right.
I loved the 5 minutes. They were the best. I wish they'd go back to it because, you know what? Can you handle 5 minutes or are you going to break? Yeah. And I love the 5-minute match. I wish it would still be a 5-minute match because, you know what, then you get the conditioning in a little bit more and you don't get the time to recoup. You have to mentally be prepared the whole time. But, the guy from China in the semis, he was a 3-time Olympic bronze medalist. That puts me in the biggest match of my life, a rematch of the World Finals from the year before. Mm-hmm. Going into it, I believe I'm going to win. Going out there, I'm going to create a high pace right away, get after them, and, let it unfold. But so I create the high pace. We're beating the piss out of each other. And the ref blows the whistle, and I see he's got my arm color. And right at that point, my mind goes negative. They're trying to screw me instead. I got the best defense in the world. I go down. He gets a 1-second jump on me. He gets his lock. He jumped the gun.
Really?
They didn't call it. And he gets me up in the air. I defend it perfectly. Best defense ever. They score 3. and won. He's up 4-0 in the first minute of the match. And looking back on video, if you watch it, my back never exposed. It should have been a 1 point lift.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the commentators, Jeff Blatnick even commentated that.
Yeah.
He goes, he never exposed. We didn't have the
Review.
replay. We didn't have the
review.
view.
Yeah. No brick.
No brick. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I shouldn't have been in that position. I shouldn't have got lifted.
Yeah.
My mind got weak for 1 second.
Yeah.
And I battle back. I get him put down. And this is where big pressure matches, you got to have everything on, knowing how to react. And I'm down 4-0. And I'm like, I got to get. For some reason, I went lift, and I sucked at lifting guys. I mean, I was okay. I could get some guys up, but that wasn't what I would. I should have went gut wrench. I should have chipped away 2 and then 1 and whatever. But I went lift, and he defended it. I threw him, but he rotated. He didn't expose. And I don't know if he got back on top of me a second time. I don't think so, but I got back on top of him another time, and I went lift again. And it's those instances in your career that if you could change, or if you could just be more mentally prepared on how you're gonna execute your game plan best to win. You know, and I kicked myself in the butt all the time because I should have went straight gut. And then with about 15 seconds left, I took him down. I lifted him again and threw him, but he didn't expose, and I lose 4-1. And I see this guy running around a mat in my own country. And I'm pissed. I'm devastated.
Yes,
You know, he beat me. You know, and I remember being on a podium, and when I got that stupid silver medal over there put around my neck, it's not stupid now, but at the time it was stupid. You know, having that and not hearing the anthem play, it was hard, man.
Yeah.
You know, I probably carried that match with me. I still, as you can see by my expression, my emotion. You know, if I can help people figure out how not to let that happen to them, you know what, then that's a good loss.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, honestly, Wheaties was at that match. They were going to offer me $150,000 to be put on a Wheaties box.
Whoa.
There was probably a lot of other sponsors, because I would have been the first U.S. Olympic gold medalist for the U.S. In that games. So, you know, but the way I look at it is God has a plan, and you know, that plan wasn't for me to be Olympic champ. So, but you know, it was a good experience, great experience. I loved wrestling in front of the home crowd. The home crowd helped me in all my matches. I mean, helped give me the energy to do what I did and earn that silver. So I owe a lot of that medal to the fans at that tournament. So
yeah, it's crazy, because I mean, you see when you watch the Olympics, I mean, just like the common folk and just the common people, and then you see, I mean, if you've never like been around high level wrestlers like yourself, like Terry Brands, like Tom Brands, like all these, and you see the other sports and the silver medal, they couldn't be happier about this, but the wrestlers always, I think, just because of the body of work that goes into it, I don't think I've very rarely seen a happy silver
medalist.
No, never.
Bronze,
I mean,
never.
maybe, yeah,
bronze.
Yeah,
because
bronze.
you
You're
win
right.
your
'Cause you win
last
one.
match.
Yep. So, but the silver is
no.
always, man. It's just devastated.
Yeah.
Devastated. And I think that, and I really, you look back at, you know, like all of this, any like NCAA's, anything.
Silver
the
guys.
second guy, man, they're struggling. You know? And it is what it is. But I'm glad, like, after all these years, because I mean, for what you did, I mean, not only with a silver medal in the Olympics, a gold medal in '95, a bronze in '90. I mean, you're talking about, I couldn't even put like into how small of a percentage of the people on the face of this earth that accomplish even one of those, let alone, I mean, seriously. So, I mean, as far as like being such a unique and just an incredible human being, just based upon that. I mean, man, it's great. It's awesome to hear that. Like after all these years, you know what? Now it's not stupid. I mean, it's something I'm really proud of.
It is. I'm
very
proud of it.
Absolutely.
You know, all the recruits, I show them it, and I said I didn't achieve my goal, but I'm here to help you achieve yours.
Absolutely, I love that. Well, but your Olympic runs weren't done.
Yeah,
because man. now after '96, I mean, what was the game plan? Were you going to keep coming back and keep competing?
You know, I didn't quite reach my goal of becoming an Olympic champion. I had my first kid August 3rd, Tyler, of that year of '96, and something inside me changed. I mean, and I'm not saying it's on him, but I found a different type of love and just a different reason why I'm here. I still had that same desire to kill people, not kill people, but mess them up.
Must be,
you know?
Put them in compromising positions.
Exactly. You know, but there was something about looking back through my career, I just got a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times I wasn't nice, but I think there's just something that made me realize that this ain't everything in the world. And, you know, I didn't have the success ever again that I had. And I think part of that is due to the mental side. You know, BZ kind of went away for a little while, didn't, you know, wasn't able to help us out. And, you know, just life, man. Yeah. Life changes. Yeah. You know, I had a wife and a kid at that time, and, you know, but not blaming anybody, but I trained hard. You know, life got a little bit tougher after a while, like in 2000 when I missed making a team in the best 2 out of 3. And, you know, the thing I tell kids is I can live with losing when I'm going for it, you know, and the example is, you know, remember my match from '93, but my match from 2000 that took me off the Olympic team. I'm in my third and final match with Jim Grunwald. And we're wrestling, we're battling, and I'm up 3-0. And I go for a high dive. I get to his body. I get his feet completely off the ground. And I'll swear to this day, they screwed me. Have him up off the ground. And as you see me lifting him up, his feet are completely off the ground. You can see his back. It would be his right leg kick my left leg. Kick me. I go to my back. You can hear me yell, legs, on the way to my back. And they look at it. They don't call anything. And as I go to my back, so it goes 2-point counter for him. I'm on my back, and I'm so pissed off, you know. I lose my shit again. And he gut wrenches me once or twice. I don't even remember. Okay. So I'm down by that, and then I've completely lost my mind because they go over the corner, and then they come back, scores the same. And I just lost it, you know. And that's one time where, you know what, you got to be able to keep your shit together. Yeah. And sorry for the swearing, but it's those moments that you realize that things gonna get heated, and you gotta be able to keep your cool, and you gotta be able to keep your thought process without going crazy. And you know, I don't care. Jim will hear this, I'm sure, but you know what? I know what I know. Yeah. And the picture and the video you heard me yell legs on the way down. I told those guys after that match. I told them, I said, I want that match. I want to see it. You know, I got the match from USA Wrestling. We did a petition to have a third wrestle off again. And, you know, they give Matt Lindland special wrestle off for the controversial match he had with Saraki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they didn't give me one. Guess what? Both those guys trained at the Olympic Training Center. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but anyway, you know, look, Jim's a great dude. I love him. But I know what I know.
Yeah.
You know, and not to make it about that, doesn't matter. But then I had to go another 4 years.
I know. And this is where we're gonna get into like the nuts and bolts of like a lot of stuff.
Then I'm
Another
number
4
two.
years.
I'm number two, and I'm making number two pay, which was dirt poor at that time. And then I had to get a job. I had to get a construction job. I was working construction in 2000 to 2001.
Yeah.
I was putting 40 hours a week in doing construction to support my family. And then, you know, I ended up winning the Nationals. I got Jim in that same high dive at Nationals, and this time I threw him for 5. You know, and then at the trials, I don't know. My mind just wasn't good. I didn't have that mindset. And, you know, 2001, 2, 3, I wasn't sharp mentally. You know, I think I had too much going on. And then I locked down in 2004 because I knew I was done. I was stepping away after 2004. But in 2003, 2002, Home Depot, the old job programs, they took me on, and crazy story. I was working at Home Depot from 2002 to 2004. And in 2003, like in August of 2003, I got a letter saying that they were going to cancel my position, that I was going to be let go. And if you remember, the World Championships were out in New York that year.
Yeah.
And John Bartis was going to give the Olympians a ring, or world champions or Olympic champs a ring at that World Championships. And I'm like, Terry, I can't go out, man, because Terry and I were still talking. Terry ended up getting me a buddy pass from somebody he knew that was a pilot. He flew me out to New York because I didn't have the cash. I wasn't going to go. Flew me out there. I stayed in his hotel room. And I met John Bartis one day. He was out there, and John come up to the room and just asked me how things were. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out life, man. I'm getting kicked in the butt all the time. And, you know, I want to go down to 121 pounds and try and win the Olympic gold medal. And he looks at me, he thinks about it. I told him that I just lose my job. He goes, he thought about it for a minute. And he goes, Dennis, I'll sponsor you. And I was shocked.
Wow.
You know, he goes, how much were you making? I said, whatever I was making at the time. He goes, we'll pay you monthly. He goes, and if you need any other money to help get guys to come over to train with you, he goes, we'll help you. He goes, your job is to make the team and trying to win that medal. And I brought in guys from Bulgaria, Emil Budanov, who was a 62-kilo guy. We trained from November to December. Then in January, I went over to Bulgaria, and I was dropping down to the 51 or 55-kilo weight, because I was up at 60 the year before. And I get to first, flights get messed up because it's winter, and we had a storm, and I'm contacting USA Wrestling trying to change my flight and all that crazy stuff. And we get it changed, and I'm like, okay, you guys know when I'm getting in Bulgaria, because I have no clue where anybody's at. They didn't give us information. I can't use my cell phone when I'm over there. And I get to Bulgaria at 11:30 at night. Weigh-ins, I believe, were the next night, or might have been the morning or something. I didn't have much time. So I get there at 11:30. I'm looking for everybody from USA Rest, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's at the airport.
Whoa.
Airport's closing in a half hour. And I have no clue what I'm going to do. I called my buddy. My buddy gave me his number before he left. He said he lives in Sofia somewhere. So I pull out his number from my wallet and $20, and I'm going up to cab drivers trying to have them call the number. Finally, one cab driver takes the $20 and calls him. And I'm like, Emil, I'm stuck in the airport. I don't know what to do. I don't know where Team USA is. He goes, oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Luckily, he had his phone on. I go and I meet his wife and his daughters. And we spend 2.5 hours at his place, and then I don't care at that point about USA Rest, and because they weren't there when they were supposed to be there. They're probably wondering where the hell I am. But then after that, we go to the hotel because he knew what hotel they were at and stuff, and he drives me to the hotel, and we walk in, and they're playing cards.
What?
They're playing cards. I have my big weight cutting bag and my backpack, and the hotel elevator is broken. They go, yeah, we've been using a service elevator, so they put my stuff in it. Me and Emil jump in a service elevator, and he's going to help me get situated. And we get stuck in between the second and third floor.
Oh, God.
And it's pitch dark in the elevator.
Oh, no.
Pitch dark. I lay down on my bag, and Emil is swearing in Bulgarian. And he's trying to, he's pounding on the door. I don't know if he was claustrophobic or not, but he's pounding on the door like a psychopath. And I just remember thinking, I'm going to sleep here till they find me in the morning, And finally he realizes he's got a cell phone. He calls down to the front desk, and that dude was like Speedy Gonzalez. He was up there. The door was ripped open. We get up there, and I go to the room where they got my bag open up the bag because I didn't bring any singlets because they were new style singlets, new cut. They sent 2 women's singlets in my bag.
What?
So I wrestled that tournament in a Bulgarian red and blue singlet with his name on the back. So it was cool. It was good luck, though. I ended up winning.
There you go.
So,
oh my goodness.
But yeah, the training was good going up in 04 and then nationals.
That's crazy about Bartis, though. Man, what a great guy.
No, for sure.
And
He's
Terry
been a huge
Brand's got you a
supporter.
buddy pass to come out
Exactly.
there. Wow.
Otherwise, I never would.
That was it?
It's
That was
crazy
it?
how God works.
Wow. It's crazy how everything just kind of falls in pieces together like that.
When you trust and you try to do the right thing, good things hope sometimes happen.
Yeah.
Not all the time, not guaranteed, but
Because in 04, I remember, because I was in Indianapolis, was the trials. And that's when, obviously, because I graduated in 96. And so Terry and I knew each other real well. I mean, obviously, I was 91 and 96 at Iowa, so 92. We started getting pretty tight towards the end of my 94, 95, 96, because I was a pretty consistent training partner with him. And that's when you guys started getting, so then that's when I got to know you. And I was like, oh man, I love Dennis. So when I heard that you're coming out of retirement, and you were going, not coming out of retirement, but basically you were wrestling in 04 and dropping down a weight class. Me and because my brother, I don't know if you remember, because we saw you at trials, and I was like, hey, dude, we're going to Indianapolis. We're going to watch Dennis wrestle. And it was, awesome. I mean, there was great matches. I mean, the freestyle was there. I mean, I think that was the time when I think Cejudo beat Abbas, and he had a little change of the guard there. And Kalen Full Heart had their thing going on and stuff like that then. But we were there to watch you. Because my brother loved you too. And I just remember... And I knew we'd finally get into this, but the epic match. I mean, and nobody's ever heard. So Dennis is involved in the longest match ever with Brandon Paulson, 17 minutes.
One of them,
One of the longest matches, and it was one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen. Just in a competitive event at all. It's because you watch the match and it just kept going, and the clock wouldn't work anymore, so they had to reset. And it keeps resetting, and these dudes are like hand fighting for 17 minutes. And I still remember this, and I'm gonna let you get into the match part of it and stuff like that. But I'm just giving like all of the outside, because you're busting through this tournament, man, and because people are like, man, how's Dennis gonna do, down at the lower weight class, and because you were 33 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And you're pulling down
33.
weight. I mean, that had to be, you're talking about monster cut in 96. I mean, now you're looking at 04 and moving down. My God. But then I remember my brother and I, we were walking around the bleachers area, and you were kind of in whatever, hanging out in between rounds. And it was before your matches with Paulson. And we were like, Dennis, hey, what's up? You're like, hey guys, what's up? And then we go, you ready to go? And you're like, you got it. He don't like my banging. He doesn't like the banging. I'm gonna get it. I was like, all right, good. So I remember, man, when that match was going on, we were just. And then when you won it, it was so cool. But take us back through, like, this is literally like a monument in American wrestling history. So.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, I could have possibly been the one sitting out, but I had a hip pointer at Nationals. That's why I mentioned a hip pointer.
Oh.
A lot of guys didn't know that, but at Nationals out in Vegas, it was the first year they started paying guys and girls $3,000 to win the US Open. So I'm kind of counting on that money.
Yeah.
Well, God had a different plan, man. I knew my had the hip pointer, so I talked to the Sunkist guys, and I'm like, hey, can you get me a shot to numb that area just a little bit, so I don't freak out when somebody locks up a gut on me. And we ended up getting a shot the morning of competition, and Terry and I were warming up. And frickin', he's snapping me, and I'm just kind of stumbling. And I'm like, what the hell? Something's going on. And after a couple more times of me getting snapped in my face and me probably going to tear something else, Terry's like, we got to go. He's like, what the hell's going on? I said, I had a hip pointer. I got a shot to counteract the pain. And he goes, they probably hit a nerve. And we start jogging over to the trainers because we're going to see if they can give me something to counteract that, and I'll eat the pain. Mm-hmm. And as we're kind of jogging over there, freaking, I fall, and Tom comes up. He thinks I'm screwing around with him. He goes, he helps pick me up, and he goes, what's going on? And then we explain it to him. I'm getting kind of carried, making sure I don't stumble more, to the trainer. We go to the trainer. I asked the trainer, I said, hey, can I get a shot to counteract the shot because my leg's numb? Mm-hmm. No, because if you do, you'll test positive.
Oh,
They go, do you think you can get through your first match on one leg? What other choice do I have? So I went out, I wrestled the first match. I went out there. My goal was to club the guy so hard that he'd fall down and I could jump on him somehow. Well, as I snapped him twice in a row, I snapped him one time, fell down. Snapped him again and fell down. And then all of a sudden I had panic set in on me. And I'm like, I'm just going to stay in my stance and hopefully try something stupid. Otherwise, I'm probably going to lose.
Yeah.
And I just stayed tight. He tried an arm spin. I hopped on my good leg, countered it, and then tacked him, gutted him out because I drove off my left foot. So then they said it takes roughly about 6 hours for it to kick out. Well, that was early morning session. The next session was like 4 or 5 o'clock. I go back in there and it's still numb, somewhat numb. So I'm like, okay. I had Sam Hayeswinkle next.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah, no joke at all. No.
I mean, and I'm like, okay, I would warm up a little bit. It's getting weird. And I say, if I can run, about 100 yards without falling, I'll wrestle a match. Otherwise, I'm not taking a chance. I don't want to get hurt and not be able to wrestle in the Olympic trials. So I start sprinting or running. and I fall about 50 yards in, and I'm like, I'm pulling out because I don't want to tear my knee. And I withdrew from the Nationals that year. And that put me in the Olympic trials in the mini tournament, you know, and I had Joe Betterman first round, who was tough.
Good. Yeah.
I had Hayes-Winkle next round. Then I had Durlacher.
Oh, yeah.
to get to Paulson.
Yeah, to get to Paulson.
So, and then second match, I won the first match. Paulson wins the second match.
Wow.
And then in the second match, Paulson headlocked me, caught me, because I always clubbed with my right hand. They say, okay, let's go. But he timed that. He ripped my freaking head off with the headlock. And after the match, my neck could move to here and to here.
Ooh.
I go to Chad Schmidt, the athletic trainer. I'm like, hey, can you fix my neck? I can't move this, you know? He's like, he was working on me for about 20 minutes, and we couldn't get any motion. My brother-in-law was just becoming
a chiropractor.
Exactly. I think he was working for somebody, but I was a test on me all the time. When he would come home on weekends, he'd adjust me, and it was like, damn, I didn't trust him good enough. I couldn't relax. Well, I go up to the crowd because he was there, and I told him, I said, hey, you got to come down to the training room and crack my neck and figure it out. I said, because you're my last option. He goes, I can't get down there. I said, you damn right you're getting down there. I said, if I have to beat the guards, I'll kill them. And I said, just shut up and just walk with me. If they say something, let me do the talking. And we end up going down. He's all nervous because he's never been down on the main floor. And I'm like, just follow me. Don't even act like you're supposed to be with me. And then we got him down in there, and he freaking adjusts me. He unlocks my neck. And I got a big relief because I'm up in about 25 minutes now, you know. And just saying my affirmations and knowing who I am on a wrestling mat and believing in myself. Yeah. And I knew it was going to be a tough match. I expected a hard brawl. And in that match, you know, he scored on me first, scored 2 on me, gut wrenched me, I believe, in parterre. Then I threw a 3-point front headlock throw, and then he threw he didn't throw, or after some reason he was down, or I had a choice to put him down. And this is where you got to be smart. You got to know what the hell you're doing. And I went parterre when they asked me. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, no, up. Because I didn't want to have to wrestle in parterre. Because I knew back then they gave a point if you got to stand up.
Oh.
So I'm trying to cover him because I know he's coming up. I messed up.
Yeah.
And he gets that damn stand up. So it's 3-3. And then they say criteria is all the same. Well, I don't believe it was because I had a 3, he had a 2 and a 1.
Yeah.
Another criteria thing, you know. And, you know, Terry Brands is in the corner with me too, you know. And we wrestled 3 minutes of overtime. I didn't even question it at the time, you know. I just do what I'm told to do, you know. We go through the first 3 minutes, and then they stop the clock. And then the referee comes out to both of us. He goes, somebody has to score a point. We are not going to decide it. So stay away from wrestling at the edge. Stay away, you know. You guys have to score a legitimate point.
Wow.
And both of us, we were attacking like maniacs. But right after he told me that it's unlimited overtime, I thought, you know, we're just going to keep the clock running. Mm-hmm. I set in my mind to go for an hour.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason I did that, I didn't want to force anything quick.
Yeah.
Because my mind went to an hour because we had done grind matches where we might score on each other 2 or 3 times in an hour and a half grind match.
Yeah.
So I was going to slow grind, just beat the piss out of them or try to, expect some clubs back too. Yeah. But I set my mindset to an hour.
Wow.
And that gave me the freedom to not be uptight.
Yeah.
Because if I would have wanted to end it right away, I probably would have done something stupid,
Yeah.
But I knew my gas tank was good enough to go for an hour.
Wow.
And, we both of us had a couple close scores, I mean, it might have been in another match, they might have put a point on the board. But, anyway, at 16 minutes, 54 seconds, I had a 2-on-1. I got to his hip. Boom, got the takedown. And, he's on the mat. I run over. I rip Terry Brand's head off and clothesline him off the stage. And I jump off the stage with him. I'm surprised I didn't break a bone or something. Run back up on the stage. And I hug the cameraman like an idiot. You can see it clear as day. And then I see Brandon on the mat.
Yeah.
And I go over to him. Because it could have been me.
Yeah.
And I grab him. I kind of lay down and I said, "I'm sorry. I love you." Said I had to do this because I thought it was my best chance for an Olympic gold medal. I go, "I'm sorry." I go, "We gave him a hell of a match."
Yeah.
And I felt bad, man. I felt horrible. Gave him a big hug and, I knew I wanted him as my training partner, and I gave him a few days to think, to get away from it. And I called him up, and I didn't know how he'd be, but shit, we trained together in 92 through 90 through 90 till he kind of quit after 96, and he came back in the 2000s, but. He was a huge part of my career.
Yeah.
Great dude. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
He is. He's a great guy.
He's a hell of a competitor. And he said that he actually got bigger once he heard I was coming down. And I could feel he was stronger. And bigger.
Yeah.
So, but we pushed each other.
What's a funny, intense training story with you and Brandon back in the day?
Not funny and intense. It sucked. This will be something for what not to do when you're at a tournament. We're overseas. We're at some tournament that
I was going to ask you some overseas story. This wraps it all up in one.
It didn't even mean anything. It was like it would be a junior tournament.
Yeah.
Now we both went over to compete, and we're in Sweden, somewhere in Sweden. I can't remember if it was Stockholm or Gothenburg or whatever, but we're over there, and it's just me and him. We got no coaches. We got nobody. We were told what club to go train at, and our sleep schedule got screwed up, and I was up. I mean, we weren't sleeping good, and we ate a little bit of McDonald's. Stupid. I'll never eat that shit again. But I'm getting ready to make weight and cut, and should have had no problem making weight. Well, I'm in a sauna. And it just ain't coming off. And Paulson's in the sauna helping me. Ask him about that. And finally, after a couple hours, we're just like, I guess I'm not making weight. I'm going up and resting up a weight class. But he tells the story way better than me. But but that's the type of stuff. We're best friends, and and I'd go up to his place and train. He'd come down to spend a lot of weekends and training time at my house. And, it's just, a ton of respect for that dude. He's a real deal, and you know, he's got some great things going on with his club, Pinnacle.
Yeah, Pinnacle.
You know,
well, I mean, they're the ones that, you know, start the P&L.
That's
huge
huge.
between him
Exactly.
and Izzy. We're fortunate enough at Young Guns Nashville to be in the P&L, and so is him and, you know, Izzy Martinez and Strip Matter and all those guys put together that P&L league in Askren, and it's a great league. And what they do, I mean, you can tell that he's about wrestling. He's about kids. He's about the wrestling culture. He's a great person. Absolutely.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
He's, you know.
But I tell you what, though, YouTube provided, I mean, just an incredibly entertaining 17 minutes, because it was, I'd never seen anything like that before. Usually,
I mean, I tell you, even the fans there was incredible,
amazing.
Because I remember being dog-ass tired, man. And then the crowd just, they'd get going. They were clapping and going crazy.
Every time the clock would reset, the crowd would go crazier.
That's what it was. I'm like, maybe they saw me slowing down.
Yeah. I mean, my God. Wow, that was amazing. That like I said, that was a really, really, really cool. I mean, probably me and my brother probably had a couple cocktails in us too, so it made it even better.
No,
but,
for sure. It was. And the crazy part is I didn't even realize until about 2015 or 2016. I'm at club and I'm talking to somebody about after club was over that I was running, my private club. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to the guys, and then all of a sudden I realized that I had a 3-point throw and he had a 2 and a 1.
Oh, that's the first time that you realized.
12 years later, dude.
Really?
11 or 12 years later. And I immediately, as soon as I realized it, I called Terry. I said, Terry, I said, I never should have went overtime. I said, they tried screwing me again. And he's like, who cares? He goes, that's one of the best matches ever. He goes, don't think about it anymore. He probably was afraid I was going to come down and beat his ass for not realizing it.
Not saying
or try
something.
to, not beat his ass, but try to.
Oh, well, I tell you what, you speaking to the greatest. Listen, man, this has been one of the greatest conversations ever.
No,
Dennis,
thanks for coming up, man.
Tell you what,
Appreciate
man, seriously, that was
Appreciate what you're doing for the sport, man.
man.
Stories like mine and all the other guys you are interviewing, it gives you insight to young kids what they need to prepare for.
100%. And like I said, man, I just love seeing you in general whenever I do see you at the different wrestling stuff, and this is gonna be one of the conversations like people are gonna say, do you guys even know there's a mic in front of you?
Which is good.
Yeah, right. I know it's
be.
the best, man. But listen, man, you are the best, ladies and gentlemen, the legendary one and only Dennis Hall. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.